Welcome to part 2 of the shadowing technique. If you're watching this, I think you've already tried to do part 1, and I'm excited for you. Stay tuned and watch for additional tips on how you can skyrocket your results and really have an English breakthrough. Here are 4 things you must not do if you want to get the best results. Sure, there's no one watching you, but don't cheat yourself of the great results of doing shadowing correctly. Here's mistake number 1. No subtitles. If you're watching movies, TV shows, or YouTube videos, turn off the subtitles. For the same reason that you don't use a script. If you do, you will sound like you are reading, not speaking. Also, the other great thing about shadowing correctly is that you will improve your listening. Mistake number 2, not listening properly before speaking. You should listen to short sections a few times before trying to mimic. If your pronunciation is poor now and you try to rush through the recording without really listening, you will really do more harm than good. You want to listen and copy the speaker's voice. The listening part is more important than the speaking part. It's very difficult to correct pronunciation if you keep saying it incorrectly. So listening carefully and then copying the speaker is a must. This is another reason trying not to use scripts and subtitles, because instead of listening, you read the words incorrectly as you have always done, and there will be no improvement. By the way, you can even try using a sleep mask to cover your eyes to improve your listening. Tip number 3, start with short and go to long. Start with short recordings of, say, 5 to 7 minutes. If you can understand 50 to 60% of the recording, that's perfect. If you can understand the material, it's easier to sound fluent. You won't be stumbling over too many new words. Material that is too difficult to listen to will make you feel frustrated and discouraged. Listen to your recordings to see how well you match up with the speaker. It's better to repeat the technique with the same recording and master it before jumping to another recording. Practice does make perfect. Now, this last item needs some more research. Item number 4. When you first start shadowing, it can be useful to have a written script. You can follow along when you do the first few listenings. Don't get out a dictionary and mark up the script with the meaning in your native language. The main purpose of having a script is to follow along. The shadowing technique is to improve listening and speaking. After you are confident in your listening, put that script away and listen without the script. Focus on the listening. Hear what the speaker is saying and not what you think he or she is saying. If you keep using the script at this point, you will be reading the script. And because reading is not the same as speaking, if you do this, you will sound like you are reading aloud in a classroom. You want to sound like a native speaker. So listen and mimic. It's how you learned your mother tongue. You should get rid of scripts entirely and focus on listening and mimicking as soon as you can. You will get much better results Here are some best practices for the shadowing technique. One common issue faced during shadowing practice is pronunciation errors. In such cases, it is crucial to focus on the correct sounds and intonation patterns of each word rather than just mimicking the speaker's accent. Listening to and imitating native English speakers leads to a huge improvement over time. Lastly, maintaining motivation and consistency in shadowing practice may be challenging for some learners. It helps to set specific goals, such as practicing for a certain amount of time each day or completing a certain number of sessions per week. But you should know 10 to 15 minutes a day, every day, is much better than 1 hour a week. The shadowing technique is an effective way to improve English speaking skills. It requires patience and practice, but with consistent effort, you can notice a great improvement in your fluency and pronunciation. By listening to native speakers and repeating their words and intonation simultaneously, you can develop your pronunciation, pace, and rhythm. So, there you have it. The secrets of effective shadowing. Make a schedule and stick to it. In as little as 1 month, you will notice a big improvement. I'll be looking forward to your comments when you actually do this technique and succeed. Leave a comment down below. So just 4 small points to improve your shadowing technique. I guarantee these little tweaks, these little minor adjustments will make a big difference if you're already doing the shadowing technique. I just wanted to give a few ideas that I had about speaking and pronunciation and improving your spoken English as I was making this video. One thing that comes to mind is how I think I've noticed a lot of my students, when they come to my classes, they concentrate, they focus on the wrong thing. For example, when I was doing a pronunciation course, I would have the students practice the pronunciation. As I showed the words, they wouldn't pay attention. They would be looking in their dictionary to find out what the meaning of the words was. Then I would have to stop the class, remind them. The meaning of the words in a pronunciation class is not important. You need to put the pronunciation practice here, into your mouth. By the same token, as you're doing the shadowing technique, you're going to be wondering, what are these speakers talking about? I don't understand them. It's not important. The important part of the shadowing technique is that you copy what they say. You can mimic what they say perfectly. You can figure out what they're talking about later. Don't worry about it. However, I do understand that human beings, because we have an understanding of one language, when someone speaks in a foreign language, we become uncomfortable. I mean, the human desire to understand is so strong. We want to know what it means. But fight that a little bit and just concentrate on the words and copying what the speaker says word for word. Copy the sounds and say the sounds exactly like you hear in the recording. That's the real key to the shadowing technique. The other thing I wanted to talk about was voices. And I'm not talking about your speaking voice. I'm talking about voices that we hear. It's been in psychology, they realize that human beings carry 2 voices in here. And one voice says, yes, you are really smart. You can do that. You can do anything. You're like Superman. The other voice is your negative voice. And it says, hey, what makes you think you can do that? You've never done it before. You're not going to do it now. You know, your English is not going to get better. Just in learning another technique isn't going to help you. Don't bother, right? So you've got this positive voice that says you can do anything, and you've got a negative voice that says, nah, don't bother, you can't do it, and kind of puts you down. So the key, of course, to success is to listen to this voice, the positive voice. You can do it. That voice is the voice you need to listen to. But in the shadowing technique, you also have two voices at play. You have your voice, how you are speaking now, and the voice that you're hearing on the recording, which is the voice that you want to become. This is the reason that it's so important to listen and listen and listen very carefully to the recording so that it will overcome your voice. You want that voice that you hear in the recording to correct your voice. If you speak too soon, you're using your voice. You don't want to use your voice. You want to copy the recording's voice to get it correct. So this is, again, something in your mind that you have to be aware of. You're fighting the two voices, your voice and the recording's voice. And you want to copy the recording's voice. You want it to overcome your voice. That's how you will become fluent. So that's my final tip for you. This is the end of the Shadowing Technique series. I hope you got a lot from it, not just watching it, but doing it.